Hi, I'm Just Billy, and welcome to Comic Book Corner. I was just about to recharge my Green Lantern ring. In darkest day, in brightest night, bad guys go fly a kite, that those who worship evil's might feel my power, Green Lantern bite. I'm pretty sure I got the oath right. Now, let's get on with it, shall we? Today we're talking about something that's unusual, even for my channel. Is Gnort the DC Universe's most underrated hero? In order to answer that, we have to answer two other questions first. Who is Gnort, and what is a hero? That first question, as convoluted as it is the easier one to answer. I mean, like almost everyone else in the DC Universe, Gnort has survived multiple reboots. Only, his origin has remained more or less the same. Gnort is a sad sack who's made a mess of every job he's ever had. But as hyperactive, clumsy, and incompetent as he is, all he's ever wanted to be is a Green Lantern. Just like his favorite uncle. His uncle can't bear to tell him that he's not Green Lantern material. But he knows that there are dozens, if not hundreds of sectors under the Guardian's jurisdiction that are completely devoid of life. Which means they don't have an active Green Lantern and no one is patrolling them. He didn't see any harm, so he pulled a few strings with the Guardian to get Gnort assigned to one of these empty sectors of space. The people of New were now happy because they didn't have to put up with all the chaos Gnort caused. Gnort was happy because he was a Green Lantern. And nothing could possibly go wrong. Until it did. This group of robots called the Manhunters woke up. The Guardians of the Universe had used them eons ago as a precursor to the Green Lantern Corps. They were shut down because they worked a little bit too well. They were merciless killing machines. They not only woke up, they were pissed off. Angry enough to trigger a company-wide crossover event. Superman and the Justice League flew off into space to find the Manhunter's secret throne world and shut it down. Hal Jordan came along so they could contact that sector's Green Lanterns for assistance. Instead they got Gnort. Gnort turns out to be just as much a hindrance to stopping the Manhunters as he is a help. But in Gnort's defense, he was a very big hindrance, which means he was super helpful. But come on, what did you expect? This isn't an ordinary issue of Justice League. This was from the Giffen de Mateus run. You know, when it wouldn't have been out of place for the team to go to IHOP and find a portal to hell in the restroom. No, that wasn't a real issue, but it very easily could have been. Gnort has had many other adventures. Most of them equally ridiculous. Oftentimes his attempts at help only make things worse. Okay, I've explained Gnort. Now I've got the hard task, defining a hero. I'm not using that literary definition, the one who causes things to happen. I'm not going to drag you guys down the Joseph Campbell rabbit hole. I'm going to define the hero in simple terms. 5 of them to be precise. 1. When confronted with injustice, a hero not only wants to stand against it, but heeds the call to action. Which means I'm cribbing from Campbell just a little bit. 2. A hero resorts to violence only as a last resort, even if it means putting themselves in harm's way. They certainly don't go around killing people willy-nilly. And on the off chance they do take a life, they show remorse. 3. When necessary, a hero will sacrifice anything that matters to them for the greater good. 4. A hero is persistent and never gives up. And 5. A hero is filled with kindness and compassion. Believe it or not, all of this describes Gnort to a T. If, as some have suggested, cough, Linkara, cough, that the superhero is a modern knight-errant, Gnort isn't at the table round. He's out in the field getting beaten to death by windmills. He doesn't care if anyone else sees what he's doing as heroic. He just wants to help people. And if one person says thank you, that's enough for him. Whenever Gnort runs into a problem, he never asks himself, should I get involved? Which puts him a step ahead of a certain Green Lantern I could name. I mean, given Gnort's track record, he probably should be asking, but that's a video for another time. If Gnort finds out where people who need help are, he's gonna get there as fast as he can. Oh sure, he'll get lost 2 or 3 times along the way, but that's beside the point. I'm giving this one a check. So let's go for another box. Gnort will not enter combat often, but that doesn't mean he's not good at it. The Confederation of Solar Systems under the rule of Manga-Khan are terrified of Gnort. Manga-Khan's empire might seem outwardly ridiculous, but both Despero and Lobo have said they'd think twice before messing with them. While I don't ordinarily suggest trusting the word of a supervillain, Lobo doesn't lie about the worthiness of opponents who challenge him. Ever. It's part of his code. And as we'll see later, he has some nice-ish things to say about Gnort. Again, people say his victory against Manga-Khan was his chaos field kicking in. I'd buy that if that were a one-off thing, but since that time he kinda sorta fought Larfleeze to a standstill, I think it's safe to say that Gnort isn't a Wonder Woman level fighter, but he's better than the average human. But just because he can fight doesn't mean he likes it. He would rather solve his problems another way. For decades, writers have told us that what Green Lanterns make with their ring is a reflection of themselves as a person. Hal Jordan is a former test pilot. With him you get planes and missiles. Guy Gardner is a jock. You get boxing gloves, bowling balls, things like that. But with Gnort, you get fans, pillows, teddy bears, none of which says ferocity. If anything, their purpose is comfort. The way I see it, Gnort doesn't treat people the way people treat each other. He treats them the way a dog treats people. That's probably the reason I'm such a fan of this character. Of all the talking dog characters I've ever seen, he behaves the most like a dog. You attack him or his pack and he'll bark and bite. But if you choose to make him your friend, you'll never find a human being that loyal, no matter how long you live. Which brings us to point 3. A hero is willing to sacrifice anything that really matters to them for the greater good. Okay, this next section involves a Gerard Jones story. I know he's problematic, given what he's done in his post-comics career. I don't have time to get into that, nor do I want to. This isn't a true crime channel. All I'm going to say is that what he did was so atrocious that it taints every comic book story he's ever worked on. Even this one. Forgive me for getting some details wrong, but I just couldn't bring myself to reread it. There is a story where part of Gnort's origin is retconned. Guy Gardner and Gnort are sent to find these bad guys who are making fake Green Lantern rings. They find out Gnort's ring is one of these bootlegs. His uncle betrayed the Corps. And that means that this has been going on for a really long time. The plan was to give these fake lantern rings to the most unworthy candidates imaginable to make the real Guardians look bad. It took so long to discover because the Guardians of the Universe were away in another dimension having orgies with the Zamorans. Yeah, that's a thing that happened. Gnort was hurt by this, but he didn't let it crush his desire to help others. On the contrary, he renounced his benefactor. He used his fake ring to create a feedback loop to destroy their central battery. He helped Guy Gardner bring them to justice because what type of hero would he be if he didn't? Guy told Gnort he didn't have to do that, he wouldn't think any less of him. Yeah, double entendre because Guy already thought Gnort was a useless piece of smeg. Gnort wasn't doing it because he cared what Guy, the Guardians, the real Green Lantern Corps, or the Justice League would think. No, he was doing it because it was the right thing to do. It would mean accepting that everything he'd been doing for the last 2 years of his life had been a lie. It would cost him any chance he ever had of being a hero. That's all he ever wanted. He might not know much, but he knew he would rather get to be a hero, just once, than betray the ideals he believed in. Guy Gardner has an ego the size of Mogo the Living Planet. He is not easy to impress. But this simple act got Guy to admit that Gnort taught him more about bravery and loyalty than he ever learned from Kilowog. Will is the trait the Guardians value over all others. It takes tremendous will to be offered everything you've ever wanted out of life and turn it down for selfless reasons. Especially when the future offers you nothing. Guy tells the Guardians he knows 100 Green Lanterns, himself included, who wouldn't have been able to do it. Gnort might have started as a Dollar Tree Green Lantern, and the Guardians could deny it all they wanted, but they'd still know. Gnort had earned a real ring. I guess that technically covers both 3 and 4, but there is a separate argument to be made. Almost every superhero has given up at some point or another. Even Batman. Okay, that time, he couldn't help it, and he was struggling to become Batman again by any means necessary. Well, any means other than striking a bargain with Ra's al Ghul. Oh, yeah, and there was that time he was dead. But there was also that missing year after Infinite Crisis. And don't forget Batman Eternal. Wonder Woman, Superman, Flash, and various Green Lanterns have all gone on long breaks. Okay, technically Gnort has given up twice, sort of. But whereas all those other heroes I mentioned went on breaks of at least a few issues, Gnort's hiatuses from superherohood lasted no more than 4 pages. During Emerald Twilight, when Hal Jordan depowered and killed most of the Green Lantern Corps, Gnort didn't give up being a superhero. He reportedly became an intergalactic bounty hunter. According to Lobo, he was pretty good at it. He was no main man, but he could handle a small job. We never got to see any of these adventures, but they were referred back to when Gnort showed up again as a member of the Dark Stars. The Dark Stars were a group of contractors run by the Guardians' rivals, the Controllers. They were a minor faction before the whole Hal thing, but they really stepped up to fill the void left by the fall of the Green Lantern Corps. Again, Gnort wasn't the best Dark Star, but at least he found his focus. He wasn't a brawler like his brothers in arms. He was search, rescue, and recovery. You don't have to be a soldier to save lives. Again, we didn't see much of Gnort in this period, but we saw enough to know what was what. After the Dark Stars fell apart, Gnort didn't give up. He'd suffered head trauma and even more diminished intelligence, but who he was didn't change. He tried his hand at being an urban legend-style vigilante, one who defended New York City's homeless people and runaway children. He wasn't fighting off Monica Khan single-handed anymore, but finding a can of food for a starving person, scaring off people harassing LGBTQ+ teens whose parents kicked them out of the house, or comforting a lost child, is just as heroic as fighting off an invader from another galaxy. After a while, the Green Lantern Corps re-emerged. All the old rings reactivated. Gnort was healed. He discovered his entire planet was nearly destroyed in a war. He tried as hard as he could to restore it. Unlike a certain Green Lantern I could name, his first response wasn't unwind the universe. He did something far more difficult. He asked for help. Now for that 5th and final qualification. Plain, simple kindness. One day, Gnort was going about his business. You know, an afternoon of patrol, looking for crimes to stop and people to save. Then he came across his arch enemy, the Scarlet Skier. A guy Gnort barely remembered, if at all. Scarlet Skier had been examining his life. He had no family, he had no friends, he couldn't make it as a supervillain. He wasn't even a very good henchman. His degree of failure was so great that he had been contemplating suicide. But thanks to Gnort showing up, he couldn't even do that right. Gnort tells him you can't let failure get you down. If anyone would know that, it'd be him. Gnort sees each day as a chance to make up for past mistakes. If he let fear of failure consume him, he'd never get out of bed at all. Besides, shouldn't you be glad you didn't hurt anyone, let alone yourself? Gnort offers him one other bit of advice. Failure is the opposite of success. Hero is the opposite of villain. So if he failed as a villain, maybe he'd succeed as a hero? And superheroes always have plenty of friends. Now, I know logically that doesn't make a lick of sense, but as stupid as it is, it gives Scarlet's Gear a new purpose in life. Once he decides to turn his life around, Gnort offers to be his first friend. Now, I'm not trying to throw shade on Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman. Not at all. Okay, maybe Batman. I think my last episode of Comic Book Corner made my thoughts on the Dark Knight perfectly clear. I don't care how many planes Superman catches or bullets Wonder Woman deflects. What Gnort did for Scarlet's Gear was far more courageous and heroic. I'm Jess Willie, and this has been the Comic Book Corner. Before I go, I just want to say a huge thank you to John Watkins-Chow. A few years ago, he did an event at my local comic book store, and that's where I got that amazing picture of Gnort. I'm going to put a link to his webpage down in the description so you guys can see just how amazing this guy is. And if you want to support Comic Book Corner and the other shows I do, visit www.patreon.com/parodyerrorfilms.